Afrocentrism and Transformative Leadership in Africa. Afrocentrism is a cultural and intellectual framework that seeks to center African identity, values, and traditions in the study of history, governance, and leadership. It challenges Eurocentric narratives that have historically marginalized African perspectives and instead emphasizes African agency, self-determination, and indigenous knowledge systems. Afrocentrism is crucial in redefining leadership within the African context by advocating for leadership approaches that are rooted in African values, traditions, and historical experiences. Key principles of Afrocentrism. 1. African identity and cultural pride. Afrocentrism promotes an awareness and appreciation of African history, heritage, and cultural contributions. It encourages leaders to embrace their identity and use it as a foundation for governance and development. 2. Community-centered leadership. Unlike Western individualistic leadership models, Afrocentric leadership emphasizes collective well-being and shared responsibility. Leaders are seen as servants of the people, ensuring that their actions benefit the larger community. 3. Self-reliance and economic independence. Afrocentrism calls for African nations to reduce dependency on external aid and foster economic independence by investing in local industries, education, and innovation. 4. Decolonization of knowledge and systems. It advocates for the use of African perspectives in education, governance, and policymaking, ensuring that decisions are made in ways that align with African realities and needs. 5. Spiritual and ethical leadership. Many African traditions integrate spirituality with leadership, emphasizing ethical conduct, moral responsibility, and justice in governance. How Afrocentrism informs transformative leadership in Africa. Afrocentrism shapes transformative leadership in Africa by providing leaders with a framework that prioritizes African values, community development, and sustainable progress. The following aspects highlight the connection between Afrocentrism and transformative leadership. 1. Promotion of inclusive leadership. Afrocentric leadership models encourage participation from all community members, ensuring that decision-making processes reflect the diverse voices of society. 2. Strengthening African institutions. Leaders inspired by Afrocentrism work to develop strong local institutions that reflect African governance systems, traditions, and ways of resolving conflicts. 3. Revitalization of indigenous knowledge. Transformative leaders recognize the value of indigenous knowledge systems in areas such as agriculture, medicine, and governance, integrating them into modern development strategies. 4. Advocacy for social justice. Afrocentric leadership challenges systems of oppression and inequality, pushing for policies that promote justice, equity, and human rights. 5. Encouraging Pan-Africanism and regional unity. Inspired by Afrocentrism, transformative leaders seek to strengthen ties between African nations, fostering economic cooperation, political solidarity, and cultural exchange. Case studies of Afrocentric transformative leadership. A. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana, advocated for Pan-Africanism and worked to free Africa from colonial influence by promoting economic and political independence. B. Julius Nyerere, Tanzania, implemented Ujamaa, African socialism, focusing on self-reliance, cooperative farming, and national unity. Century Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso, emphasized economic self-sufficiency, gender equality, and grassroots participation in governance. Conclusion. Afrocentrism provides a strong foundation for transformative leadership in Africa by promoting values that prioritize community well-being, economic independence, and cultural pride. By embracing Afrocentric principles, African leaders can create sustainable and inclusive solutions that empower their people and drive meaningful social change.
Socio-political and economic challenges affecting social change in Africa. Social change in Africa is influenced by various socio-political and economic factors that either hinder or facilitate progress. Understanding these challenges is crucial for transformative leaders who aim to drive meaningful change across communities and institutions. The key socio-political and economic factors that complicate social change in Africa include governance issues, economic instability, and structural barriers to development. 1. Socio-political challenges. Governance and political instability. Many African nations have experienced prolonged periods of political instability due to weak institutions, military coups, and contested elections. Poor governance structures result in a lack of accountability, corruption, and inefficient public service delivery. Political instability disrupts development programs, discourages investment, and creates an uncertain environment for policy implementation. Corruption and lack of transparency. Corruption remains a significant impediment to social change, diverting resources meant for public welfare into private hands. Bribery, nepotism, and embezzlement weaken institutional efficiency and public trust in leadership. Anti-corruption measures, whistleblower protection, and stronger legal frameworks are necessary to promote good governance. Human rights violations and social justice issues. Limited access to justice, suppression of dissent, and political oppression hinder democratic participation and social equity. Many marginalized groups, including women and ethnic minorities, face systemic discrimination in leadership and decision-making processes. Strengthening legal frameworks and civic institutions can promote justice, equity, and inclusive governance. Ethnic and religious conflict. Africa's diverse ethnic and religious composition can lead to tensions and conflicts, affecting national unity and development. Divisions along ethnic lines have fueled political violence, displacements, and hindered national development. Transformative leadership must emphasize national identity over tribal affiliations, fostering dialogue and reconciliation. 2. Economic challenges. Poverty and income inequality. Many African countries experience high levels of poverty and income inequality, limiting access to basic needs such as education, healthcare, and housing. Disparities between urban and rural areas create socio-economic divisions that affect development efforts. Inclusive economic policies, social protection programs, and equitable resource distribution are key to addressing poverty. Unemployment and underemployment. The continent has a rapidly growing youthful population, yet job opportunities remain scarce, leading to high unemployment rates. Underemployment and informal sector dominance mean that many workers lack job security, fair wages, and social protection. Investment in vocational training, entrepreneurship, and innovation can create sustainable employment opportunities. Limited access to capital and financial inclusion. Small and medium enterprises, SMEs, struggle to access funding, limiting their ability to expand and generate employment. Financial exclusion, particularly in rural areas, restricts individuals' ability to invest in businesses or acquire necessary services. Expanding financial inclusion through microfinance, mobile banking, and policy reforms can boost economic participation. Dependence on foreign aid and debt burden. Many African countries rely heavily on foreign aid and external loans to fund development projects. Over-reliance on aid often creates dependency and limits long-term economic self-sufficiency. Strengthening local industries, improving tax collection, and investing in infrastructure can reduce dependence on external support. Weak infrastructure and industrialization. Inadequate transport, electricity, and internet infrastructure limit economic growth and competitiveness. Industrialization is hindered by poor policy frameworks, lack of technological innovation, and inadequate human capital development. Governments must prioritize infrastructure investment and create a conducive environment for industrialization and technological advancement. 3. Structural barriers to social change. Education and skill gap. Poor quality education systems fail to equip young people with skills necessary for leadership, innovation, and entrepreneurship. A focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, education and vocational training can bridge the skills gap and improve economic productivity. Gender inequality and social exclusion. Women and marginalized groups face barriers to leadership and economic participation, limiting their role in driving social change. Gender-responsive policies and empowerment programs can promote equal opportunities and representation in leadership. Climate change and environmental challenges. Environmental degradation, deforestation, and climate-related disasters disproportionately affect vulnerable communities. Climate resilience strategies, sustainable land use, and investment in renewable energy can help mitigate these effects. 4. Strategies for overcoming these challenges. Transformative leadership can play a pivotal role in addressing these socio-political and economic challenges through strengthening institutions, implementing policies that enhance transparency, accountability, and efficiency within governance structures. Economic empowerment programs, promoting entrepreneurship, vocational training, and financial inclusion. Community engagement, encouraging participatory governance where citizens play active roles in decision-making and development. Advocacy for human rights and equity, ensuring social policies promote justice, gender equality, and protection of vulnerable groups. 5. Case studies of African leaders addressing these challenges. Nelson Mandela, South Africa, advocated for national reconciliation, democracy, and social justice in post-apartheid South Africa. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Liberia, focused on rebuilding Liberia's economy and advancing women's leadership in governance. Paul Kagame, Rwanda, led Rwanda economic transformation by emphasizing innovation, education, and anti-corruption measures. Wangari Maathai, Kenya, pioneered environmental conservation and women's empowerment through the Green Belt movement. By understanding these socio-political and economic challenges, African leaders and scholars can develop strategies to foster meaningful and lasting social change across the continent. Introduction Ubuntu and Transformative Leadership in Africa. Ubuntu, an African philosophy emphasizing interconnectedness and collective responsibility, guides transformative leadership in Africa. It highlights unity, empathy, and ethical leadership, urging scholars for social change to prioritize the collective good over personal ambition. Key values of Ubuntu in leadership. 1. Interconnectedness. Success is linked to community progress, promoting collaboration and inclusivity. 2. Compassion and empathy. Leaders should actively listen and address social challenges with care. 3. Collective responsibility. Empowering communities to participate in decision-making fosters sustainable solutions. 4. Respect and dignity. Inclusive leadership values all individuals and promotes equity. 5. Reconciliation and peace-building. Dialogue and unity are essential for resolving conflicts and nation-building. 6. Sustainability. Responsible use of resources and environmental stewardship ensure long-term impact. Applying Ubuntu in leadership. Empowering communities, supporting self-driven, sustainable development. Integrity in leadership. Transparency and fairness build trust and credibility. Collaboration for impact. Engaging stakeholders ensures diverse solutions. Education and mentorship. Passing knowledge strengthens future leadership. Conclusion. Ubuntu fosters leadership centered on community well-being, ethical governance, and sustainable development. By embracing these principles, scholars for social change can drive meaningful progress across Africa, ensuring that leadership prioritizes both economic growth and social transformation.